Please welcome Rocky Dawuni, musician and ambassador for Global Alliance for Clean Cookstoves. Martha Isabel Pati Ruiz Corzo, director of Grupo Ecologico Sierra Gorda and moderator, and Mashable's Rebecca Ruiz.
Good evening. It's so wonderful to be here and hear so many inspirational stories. And I'm thrilled to be joined by two people who are advocates working with local communities around the world to improve people's livelihoods, health, and environment. Rocky is a world-famous musician and an ambassador for the Global Alliance for Clean Cookstoves. Pati is the co-founder and director of Grupo Ecologico Sierra Gorda. And I think we're going to see some images here of women cooking over open fires using solid fuels and also using biomass stoves that burn more efficiently. And Rocky, I want to start with you by asking, why is the very basic act of cooking so extraordinarily dangerous for millions of people around the world, and why have you taken this cause up personally?
Well, for me, it all started with, growing up in Ghana and seeing that there were a lot of issues that, really required attention, So as an artist, I worked in areas to do with the environment and then also women's issues. And through all the progress of working, I came across the information that, after about 3 billion people around the world who were cooking with traditional cook stoves, open fires, and also solid fuels, there were about 2 million people dying every year, And this was something too that I grew up and saw my mother and my sisters and people that I knew working, and kids, and it disproportionately too affects kids because kids and women are the ones who are usually in the kitchen. So I also saw that the solution, which was clean cooking, adoption of clean cooking and solid fuels, was also going to solve not only this public health issue, but also the environmental issue, that is associated with it. And then it just pretty much resonated with all the other stuff that I was working with. So clean cooking became an answer to a lot of the areas that I was working on as an activist. And I decided that to work extremely hard to bring this issue to the forefront of the development community.
Very personal for you then.
Yes.
And Pati, what you work on is extremely personal as well. I mean, you work with people in extreme poverty and high biodiversity areas who own the land, and you're looking at ways to involve them in compensation schemes for the conservation work that they do. Tell me a little bit about how that works.
We have big challenges. We do conservation of natural capital in extreme poverty land. Yeah, it happens all this wealth is in the south, in Mexico and all over the world. Biodiversity is in the hands of extreme poverty communities. And it means a natural infrastructure that gives us vital services for the well-being of everyone that we take for granted. Then in Sierra Gorda Biosphere Reserve, we deal with the communities developing answers based in nature. Yeah, giving economic value to the ecosystem services and developing an economic value for the splendid beautiness of my place. Yeah. Then the local landowners now are tourism operators, and every year we are grounding 43 million pesos directly to the pockets for those activities that we have developed for them, developing training, new skills, and new capacities for the landowners that are our very beloved partners. They are in the middle of my heart.
And you saw just then some video imagery from the Sierra Gorda, just stunning. Rocky, I want to ask you, there's a lot, both of you are working around issues that require people to reevaluate tradition and look at the ways they might need to or want to change their everyday behavior to better their homes, their environments, their communities. But in Ghana, can you talk about some of the traditions surrounding cooking and why it might be hard for people to leave behind that traditional over an open fire style of cooking?
Well, there's really not an easy solution, but the reality is that in Ghana, out of 9 out of 10 people cook with solid fuels, and about 10,000 people die annually as a result, So and then the cooking has also been an ancient tradition. The way people cook, it's a cultural thing. So to be able to change something that is steeped in the culture, first of all, you have to have a certain, insight into the culture and also a sensitivity into the culture. So for me, it's really much based on being able to create, engagement with people, bringing attention to what the values are, the options, the affordability, when it comes to Cookstoves, and then, opening for people to make their own decision. But in the long run, it is a problem that requires immediate focus and immediate attention. And I feel that as we keep amplifying, the issue, people will resonate with that.
Sure. And Pati, for you, you're also trying to approach tradition in a respectful, inclusive way and help people transition away from things like cattle grazing on forest land that has become degraded, basically. Tell us a little bit about the way that you work with communities to empower them to, think about those traditions, but also think about the future.
I am a big spider. I have 30 years weaving relations with love, with my red accordion, going around all the communities, supporting them in every possible way. And they know that I love you, and they love me, and then it's just a flowing of love. That's what I believe. And I have told them that it's fair to love the planet, to hug the trees, to smell the soil, to enjoy simple things. All this body is pure compost. I came from her, and I'm going back to her, and I adore her with all the passion in my heart. And that's what I'm trying to do in Sierra Gorda, to mobilize every possibility with the strength in my heart and in their hearts. And when they are getting strength, you may touch the entrepreneurship that is coming from their hearts. When they have a little money in their pockets, and now they are micro-entrepreneurs, you may touch the power that it's getting from the heart. And I think that we have the biggest challenge that our society has faced. We are losing the house. We are losing the planet. I live on the mountains, and I may testify how are we losing the battle with the plagues, with the fires. We are losing the natural infrastructure, and that's not fair, because we have a very loving planet. And I don't know if you come from somewhere else, but I am daughter of this planet. I don't know if you are from Pet.
So beautifully said, and I can see the passion in your heart, how that would motivate the people that you work with to look at the solutions you're evaluating and trying to implement. You believe you've developed a model that could be replicated across the tropics. Can you tell us some specifics about that model that others here might be able to learn from?
Thank you. We have gotten the experience. We know how to restore the ecosystems, the natural infrastructure. And we know how to get a new, fresh financing under a subnational activism. Yeah, with my governor of the state, now I'm working in 7 different states trying to replicate this financing model, training the local ranchers, doing planet grazing, It's incredible. How can you restore the life on desertificated soils? Yeah, with the cows. With the cows well managed, you make the miracle. When you take the cows out of the forest, you let the little ones to come, and you restore the forest in such an incredible way, in such a biodiversity, and that's a pure creation of the mind of God. Woo!
Yeah.
I think.
Rocky, can you share with us some of the solutions that you found to be most effective when trying to help people transition to using more sustainable, safer forms of cooking?
Well, I mean, some of the solutions have been in terms of, not even what maybe the developmental community might think, I mean, sometimes, the communication, in terms of the better health, and then also the climate, which we know that the benefits of these, cooking stoves and clean cooking sometimes doesn't really translate. And people are looking for, stoves that burn faster. And there's also an aspirational aspect to it, where people want to make sure that, okay, their pots are not covered with soot, their kitchen is not, all smoke-filled, and then they can also be able to create a living space where their children are not affected by the household air pollution that ends up, causing, sickness and respiratory, for them. So it is, I think that there are so many different, dimensions to this, and it's a matter of being able to zone in on each community and seeing what the cultural resonance is there, and then adapting the strategy to what speaks to them. And then once you're able to do that, then you get that behavioral change and also create that transformation that lasts longer, when everybody's, gone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can feel it, but just being on this couch with these two, there's an energy, a passion, really, and partly, I think it's because both of you use music to shape and share your messages. And tell us what a difference music can make in the work that you do.
Well, for me, music is really the highest form of expression, the highest form of language. Music doesn't judge. It creates a space where we can all communicate. And at the same time, too, music also empowers everybody. So there is, if you're able to create that space, it's a space of agreement, a space where you can bring people from different sectors to focus on an ideal that is higher than ourselves. And I believe that we live also in a time where there needs to be voices that have to, all of us, there is the activism gene within us. And all of us have the ability to make a difference in the world, but we don't have to wait for somebody to tell us. But music can create that energy, that passion, and if guided and focused on the ideal, it is a power that can transform this world.
Patti, did you want to?
Yeah, I have an arrow direct to your heart. That's music for me. It's a bridge.
Yes.
It's a lift. It gives you such an emotional communication. Let's see what happened in your heart. We are living in the great big deeper. We are washed by the very same rain. We're all swimming in the stream together. Some in power, some in pain. We can worship this ground. We walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits would live forever, with all swimming to the other side.